I think it's just foolish to put that pressure on ourselves. And so we can just calibrate and we can say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. We need
I
to celebrate the slow growth people.
Welcome to the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show, where we bring strategies and knowledge that will help you succeed in Idaho's ever-changing real estate market. I'm Jonna Weber. I'm an Idaho investor, realtor, and entrepreneur. I've been successfully investing for over 2 decades and helping countless others do the same. We'll bring you real stories from successful investors, expert advice, and insights to help you build generational wealth through the power of real estate. Whether you're just getting started or well on your way, let's jump in.
Julie Holly, it is so good to have you on the show. We've talked about this for months. We're making it happen. And for those of you that are listening out here and think, oh, that name sounds familiar, let me give you a little background on Julie, and we're going to dive in. But Julie and I have known of each other for years, I would say, but we just got connected earlier this year. I was so blessed to be able to speak at a conference she held earlier this year called The Conscious Investor up in beautiful Coeur d'Alene. And I just fell in love with her philosophy of life and business. You guys are in for a treat. She's up to some new things even since the conference happened. We're going to dive into that. And we are just thrilled to announce that Julie's going to be one of our keynote speakers at our upcoming Idaho Real Estate Investor Conference here in Boise. And so you're going to want to tune in and not miss a word of what Julie has to say. Welcome to the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show, Julie.
I was just so excited to see this on my calendar and know that it was taking place today because I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to see Jonna. We get to talk, catch up, have fun, and share really powerful information like support for you.
I absolutely agree. And if you all think I have energy at events and I'm bouncing around a lot, wait till you get in a room with Julie. The energy just flows out of her soul, and it's a beautiful thing. So this is going to be fun. Let's dive down because some people obviously don't know who you are. You've had successful podcasts in the past. You're doing some great things now. So many may, but if not, we have a lot in common. We both used to be teachers, then turned real estate investors. Can you unpack just a little bit of that early journey and how you got involved in real estate investing?
Well, yeah. So I got involved in investing via my very first house. I went through an unfortunate divorce situation. It was a terrible situation. And I'm open to sharing that just because I have shared it so much and it's resonated and landed with so many people. So if you're in a tough situation and like you're not alone and there's healing and there's this whole other world out there. So I just want you to know God has great things in store for you if you're in a tough time. So I go through this tough time and my attorney fought for the house for me. And that house started my investing journey. I didn't want anything. I just wanted to be safe and to know I wasn't going to be abused. And here she fought on my behalf when I couldn't. And I end up with this house and I live in that house and we turn it into, I met my wonderful husband now of 19 years, and we ended up renting that house out. And then we ended up actually selling that house to pay off all of our debt, everything before we had our first son. And this is before we realized the power of investing. But we have to keep in mind that our investments are intended to serve us. And so in that capacity, that investment actually served us. It provided this whole foundation and unlocked this whole other dimension in our finances that we hadn't yet experienced. So we got a taste of that whole, you have that whole nice nest egg. You have zero liability, zero debt, zero anything. You're just zeroed out. And there's amazing freedom in that. But we had a vision of buying and acquiring a portfolio from the very get-go to support people who were in transition in difficult times who didn't look good on paper. And fast forward, we ended up having other rental properties. We were long distance landlords very successfully. Then, as I was in education, I learned about syndication. And I am like, oh, what is this magic syndication? Like, I loved it. It went with the ethos of my family because I'm third generation in real estate. And it's like, everybody is winning. This is great. Everybody wins. So the residents win, the investors win, I win, the community wins. Like I felt like Oprah. I'm like, everybody wins. This is so great. So I ended up investing in a mastermind for syndication. I ended up building out just a whole world in the syndication space in finding great success. I think at the top, we're right around 850 units or so on the active and the passive side. So we work both angles of this.
Okay.
So that's important to know. You don't want to just be an active investor. You also want to be passively investing. And by the way, passively investing in strong syndications is truly passive. You don't have to do anything. There was a fire on one of the assets we're passively invested in, and nobody called us. We didn't take care of it. So that was really nice.
Wow.
Hey, Idaho investors, here's a stat that might surprise you. Over 70% of successful real estate investors say their best deals didn't come from the MLS or from a cold online lead. They came through their network. So if you're serious about growing your portfolio, it's time to get in the right room. Join Idaho REI, the Idaho Real Estate Investor Network, an affiliate of the National REIA. We're here to inspire, connect, and equip you to build real wealth through real estate. Success doesn't happen in isolation. Get in the room where it's happening. Visit IdahoREI.com and join us today.
Okay, and that's great to know too, because if someone's listening to this and not really familiar with the term syndication, first of all, can you explain what syndication is?
Thanks. That's a great catch right there. So syndication, it's a fancy way of saying, hey, let's buy something together. So it's just crowdfunding. That's another way you might want to think of it.
Sure.
Crowdfunding the purchase of something that you wouldn't be able to purchase on your own. Fast forward, even now, throughout that time, I was involved in the personal development space. And early on, maybe 6, 7 years ago, one of my friends told me, hey, at some point, you're going to have to make a choice. Like, you're going to have to either, you can't be coaching and syndicate. And anytime someone tells me I can't, I'm like, I will. Don't tell me I can't. I will do it, and I'll do it with excellence. But so my podcast, my former podcast, The Conscious Investor, which is award winning, over, I don't know, almost 600 and something episodes deep, tons of
Wow.
interviews. It's beautiful. That just in that space, just learning, I had mindset covered, I had investing covered. I was always doing this this dual frame role. And since my Conscious Investor Growth Summit in earlier this year in 2025, I actually made a tough decision. I retired all of it and I dove into identity level recalibration because I can see where our investing community really needs so much support so that they're not bankrupting the best parts of their lives.
Ooh, that's powerful. Bankrupting the best parts of our lives. Unpack that.
Oh gosh. So this is the real foundation for me as to it's the why behind the what. Like, why was Julie always focused on the mindset and on the inner work? Because if we have that financial freedom, what do we have to show for it?
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually represent? And so many of us are actually, as investors, chasing after that financial freedom, that financial independence. And a lot of times it stems from fear. It stems from, I'm trying to override my experiences from my past. I'm trying to do something better for my family. And so there's this whole cacophony of things that are taking place inside of us. And when we don't speak to those, when we leave them in the closet hidden, we have that success, but we don't even understand it. And so we're not connected with ourselves. It doesn't actually resonate with us. We
Mm.
end up bankrupting everything we have to offer.
I think of examples of a couple of the most successful on paper, even investors that I know that have lost their marriages, serious regrets with their family. And it's huge and it's powerful that you're talking about that and bringing that up and really creating support structure around that. I know when I first got involved in investing, I've been investing for 21 years. But really, when I got serious about it, I would say in the 2000s, the early 2010s, that a decade or so ago, the hustle mentality was so huge. And whether it was Grant Cardone talking about 10X, and there's all great parts of that in theory, right? About going forward and making sure that you're making strides. But some of those messages came at a big cost to people that were taking it so literally, I feel like, and just
Oh, yeah.
really ignoring like the other 5, 6 parts of your lives that's really what's important.
Oh my gosh. The reality is that if we're trying to apply someone else's strategies, but we're not calibrated ourselves, the
Mhm.
strategies aren't going to work for us. Like, full stop. So many times people are trying to be they're trying to be like the Grant Cardones or the Brandon Turners or fill in. You and I have some really extraordinary people in our networks. And it's like they're trying
Yeah.
to be like all these extraordinary people. And we can borrow from those people, but we really need to be connected to ourselves. So, like with that, actually, I'd offer a reframe, and I'm going to be curious how you take this. We can go from like that thought of hustle is how I win to alignment is how I scale. And when we're
Mm.
aligned, we can actually scale. So a lot of times, like you're talking about, we figure out, we join the mastermind. I can check the box. I joined the mastermind, right? I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that I was successful. I wanted the formula. I wanted to be around people who were like minded. There is nothing wrong with any of that. Hear me on that, everyone. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually very critical to creating that ecosystem. But with that, a lot of times comes a fear of falling behind. And then the next thing you know is that your grind is now your default identity. So
Mm.
I was part of the 4 a.m. club. I was part of all the Zoom mastermind networking, everything going on. And that just becomes this thing that you do and it's robotic. So here's a question would encourage everyone listening, and I'd love to hear how, what you think of this.
Okay.
If you ask yourself this one question, if I only took on deals that aligned with my vision, values, and season of life, that's an important part. What would I say no to?
Hmm. That's a really good one. So if you only took on deals that were in alignment,
Visions, values, and season of life.
for the most part, and certainly for myself, I would take on things that were very low time impact because the older I get, the more precious time is. And something can be even very lucrative, but if it's going to suck my time and make me say no to the very people that I want to spend the most time with, I've been there, done that way too much, and I'm not doing that anymore.
And you and I were talking off air. Thanks so much for going down the rabbit hole of it with me.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be vulnerable here.
It's so right when we do that, when we give ourselves that permission to say, "Oh, wait, I've done that. I've experienced this." And you and I were talking in the green room about, hey, when you get to midlife, what does that look like in our perspective shifts? And so understanding the season of life that we are in is so important. I'm so glad that we sold that first rental that we had. Most investors would be like, you should never sell. But actually, at that season of life where we were, would we
Mhm.
go back and do it knowing what we know now? No, we wouldn't. But we made the best choice we could at that stage of life, in that season of life of starting our family. So we were advocating for something that we valued, right? We are very in line on family brand, if you will. And we have to remember that that recalibration is our best no is the best yes.
Right.
And so we can step away from hustle culture and say, is this aligned with me and my values and this season of life where I'm at right now? Because I guarantee when I'm in my 60s and 70s, I'm going to have a whole different playbook.
Hmm. While you were talking about that, I was thinking too about something that I hear all of the time and that I used to be guilty of too. It just being proud of the fact that you're a control freak. You don't want to outsource anything. You don't want to let go of anything. As a real estate agent, it's the agent that'll say, could never have a transaction coordinator. I could never let go of anything. Of course, I take my own photos or whatever it is. And it's almost like a badge of honor
Oh
that
my
people
gosh, yes.
take everything on their shoulders. What would you say to someone like that? That
Wow. Right. The question would be, why do we need to take this on? Why does it have to be me? And do I have the capacity to play all these roles to the caliber and excellence that I want? So for me, there are a lot of things that I am not skilled with. So if you want me to create any type of automation or systems, I can do it. It's not going to be pretty and it's going to frustrate and be clunky, right? So it's better for me to recognize where is my time and what is the value of my time. And because I've gone back and forth on the control freak because I became very self-conscious because I was a control freak. People called me out for it. And now, bluntly, part of my multifamily portfolio is in dire shape because the roles that I did not play, those roles were not being navigated well, and there was misreporting and such. And so it's a very difficult time right now, quite frankly, on the multifamily portfolio side. And so I'm realizing there's also a balance in that control freakness. So just, okay, when do I outsource this and when do I take responsibility and do it myself? And so just understanding that it's the control freak part, we'll use that air quotes if you're listening. I'm putting air quotes around that. You can
Yes.
insert whatever your friends and family and coworkers call you out for, just insert that there for control freak. Whatever you're being called out for, it can be a double-edged sword. And so understanding, when do I apply this? When is this actually going to serve me and support me? And when is this going to hinder me?
Okay. The work that you're being called to do right now, it's called identity level recalibration, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you just layman's terms explain what that means and how it might apply to someone? I'm thinking about many of you out there listening. You're probably like us. You're in your 40s, you're in your 50s. You are maybe done very well professionally, and you're going through the motions and you know you need something. I'm just thinking that's probably a lot of the kind of people that you work with. And that's the framework that I know that I have dealt with, looking at what's next kind of thing. And is this all there is? For those listeners, for those of you out there that are struggling with that, let's hear what you have to say, Julie.
Yeah, identity level recalibration, it's a mouthful, but it is literally the single shift that makes all the other tools in the mindset space, in the personal growth development space work. So we're
Okay.
actually, and most of the people I work with, they are usually very, very successful. They've had success, and that's actually what is triggering this. Why do I feel dissonance in my life? Why do I feel like I have this pedigree, but it doesn't feel like enough? I've accomplished all of these things because we're at a certain stage of life where we've had the accomplishments on paper, our accomplishments in our bank accounts, accomplishments between our peers. Like, it looks extremely accomplished and such. So why am I feeling disconnected? And why am I feeling like there's a gap between who I am and something else out there? And I don't even know what that else is. And so what we do is we actually go in, because when we're shifting, this will be interesting. I guarantee I could probably answer this for you. I'm going to answer it for myself and then I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you.
Okay.
Who I am as an investor, even over the last decade, has shifted so drastically. Now, I'm the same person, but I have so much more knowledge, skills, experience, and I actually have a better idea of who I am and what I want to contribute in this world. And so how I go about things is so different. What I found, and honestly, I created this whole identity level recalibration for myself. Like, it's really an outpouring of my own life, and it's terminology that makes me I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this makes sense." Because we've done all these things, and basically what happens is that we go through all of these shifts, but they're outside of ourselves. Hence, we have the paper success, we have the assets, the portfolio,
Mhm.
but we haven't been doing catching up with ourselves. And so instead of us being at the waypoint on a timeline current today, we're making decisions most of the time about ourselves, about our life based on 5, 10, 15, maybe even longer ago. And so we're looking at
Yes.
our world from that vantage point instead of saying, let's stay current to who I am so that I'm showing up in the world in my authenticness and calibrated to this version of myself.
Right. And it's almost like waking up one day and just going, these clothes don't fit.
Yes.
That's how I liken it to. And I
Yeah.
transparently, I've had that recalibration going on for a few years myself. And it's
Mhm.
so interesting how even as recent as 3, 4 years ago, I was so caring about external awards, whether
Mm.
like literally awards, major
Mhm.
awards through real estate accomplishments and stages and podcasts and so forth, and being out there. And you just wake up one day and you don't care. You don't care. And I don't know if that's just a natural, if everybody goes through that, but I think if you don't pay attention to if that's happening, you can become numb. And that's where you can wake up and go, oh, crud, what am I doing this for? Where'd my life go, frankly?
And all of these years, are they wasted? And so it's nope, none of that is a waste. We
Right.
recalibrate, we
Hmm.
get
And there's
grounded.
seasons of life too. There's seasons.
Yes. Yes. And accepting that. What's interesting is that within identity level recalibration, I'm really drawing upon a lot of sciences. So there are a lot of neurological things that are taking place that we now have context and words for. Just most of us are now familiar with neuroplasticity. It's, oh my gosh, my brain is always growing. It's always developing if I'm feeding it, if I'm allowing it to. I don't want it to atrophy away. What am I feeding it? How am I expanding in a spot? But also, when we look at our nervous system, and there's so much that is surfacing in the world over the last several years on our nervous system, but most of us are also operating. If we had more time, Jonna, right? We could go
Yeah.
back and we say, why was she chasing after that external rewards? What was that
Right.
about? And we could actually
Right.
probably trace it back to something way back in your childhood that actually shows that our body does keep a score. I love that book, but it like our fascia is holding everything. Our DNA is carrying from generations past. So just like raising our awareness, ILR to shorten it, right? Make it easy. Like we're actually looking at this in a very holistic way so that we're not just saying where are we at right now in this moment, but okay, this is where we are right now. And where is the root of that? And how can we work with that? What's the story behind that? What's the why behind the what? I'm showing up to the world. I feel like I need this from the world. I feel like I need to build my portfolio. I want to have 100 billion assets under management. I want to have but why? What's driving it? And so we really get to get into the subsurface. It's rich, it's deep. And I think that one of the important questions is like, we can ask ourselves in a reframe that we can say is, and you can put anything you want into this, but we can shift from I am my portfolio to I'm the architect, not the asset. So
Mhm.
many of us have our identity tied to assets under management, to awards, to our unit count, to our current deal
Yeah,
count.
unit count. That's a big one, especially at real estate investor conferences. How many
Oh
units,
my
how many
gosh.
doors do you have? What's your cash flow?
Oh
Yeah.
my word. It is
Yeah.
such a thing. And
Our
it's so
conference is
gross.
not going to be like that.
Come to the Idaho conference because it won't be like that. My events have never been like that. Your events are like,
I
I'm like,
know.
it's just, but what shows us where people are tying their identity, right? But as soon as the market shifts or something happens in life, it's your confidence for a lot of people who are tied to that, their confidence totally tanks off also. So we can ask ourselves, if I sold, and this will be interesting if you want,
Yeah.
listeners, you answer this to yourself, but and John, if you want to answer it, but just ask if I sold everything tomorrow, who would I be? Or you could say, if I sold my practice, who would I be? If
Hmm.
I retired from this job, who would I be? If I wasn't a wealth manager anymore, who would I be? And it will probably bring some discomfort because so many of us, we're directly tied to that. And so we can actually don't feel like let the discomfort be there. If there is discomfort, it's fine. It's just data, it's information, and it shows you where you have been outsourcing to performance.
Mm.
So when you stop like being your numbers, you actually start building from clarity, not fear. And for most people, it's fear, it's shame, it's we're trying to overcompensate for something.
Oh, for sure. It almost sounds like therapy. Like, how do you do it? When I'm hearing you mention, you call it
I
ILR. I love
yeah,
that. Yeah. Is it almost a form of therapy, or are you bringing people just through a new process?
there is nothing like this out there.
Yeah.
So it's a category of its own. It's all those other practices, basically therapy, mindset, high performance habits, things like that All of those are, if we were looking at the crust of the earth, right? All of those things are on top of the crust. Identity level recalibration is everything below. And
Okay.
so doing this type of work is very foundational. It's supportive of all of those other things. And it really helps us to be able to internalize those and take action without becoming distorted. So I am a high performer. I no longer use that term. I have decided that I am a high capacity human because a performer is something like we go to performances. We're not intended to perform our entire lives. So, most of us, and especially in our middle years, we have found ourselves where we are performing surgeries, literally, or we're performing financial audits, or we are performing in some way and it feels good. It gives us that dopamine hit. And so we just keep going after that and we want more of it because it feels good. It feels good when we're successful. Go figure, success feels great. That's cool. But we have to
Right.
understand that the difference, right? And to say, okay, if I sold everything tomorrow, who would I be?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Don't
do
you
I
think
like
that
that person?
social media over the last decade has really complicated the even more related to people's identity and imposter syndrome? And I personally have been feeling pretty convicted recently on social media consumption
Mm.
and just realizing that I don't need to be anybody that I'm following. Right.
Oh,
And we're
so
all
true.
so different, and I think that just contributes to the need or the feeling like even in real estate, there's so many realtors out there, air quotes again, killing it, and that are just
Yeah.
amazing and so forth, and it's impossible to keep up. It's like literally keeping up with the Joneses on steroids when you're
Mhm.
comparing others in your industry or even in different investing levels that are demonstrating what they're doing or showing off on social media. And is that part of it? Do you suggest people cut off or at least limit those kind of things?
It's a very personal decision. And so if you're calibrated, right? If you're in a strong calibration, you can engage and interact with the world and it's fine. It's just going to pass through. It flows through. And it
Okay.
doesn't affect or shift or change you because your identity isn't being there's no more comparison. There is no comparison. Like I know who I am. I know my capacity. I know how I want to expand my capacity. And I don't know what that person's full capacity is, but the reality is I understand it's not really my business, but my business is this person right here.
I love it.
Within it, one of the things that really supported the last cohort that went through was we spent some time talking about being a friend to the person. Like you are the only person that you spend your entire life with. Do you like yourself? When you look in the mirror, do you cheer yourself on? Are you proud of yourself? I know for me, during these beautiful middle years, I've become very gentle to myself. I have started to say, I'm proud of this body because I'm sure anyone in the middle years listening, your body is shifting and is changing. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. You carried 4 babies. You have done so much things. You've taken me to the most incredible mountain summits. You've done incredible things. I'm so grateful, right? Instead of
Right.
having that shame that would want to come from the outside that says, "Oh my gosh, you should always look like you're 25." No, I'm not going to look like I'm 25. Like I'm turning 50 here soon. So it's like just understanding and just like looking even in the mirror. And so it's like that shift that reclaiming the territory of your life.
Yeah.
Hey, Idaho friends, if you're busy like me, you're always on the lookout for trusted professionals that can help you with your business, home, and investment needs. Whether it's a trusted lender, property manager, or a service provider that you're going to have come into your home or work on your investment property, there's always a need out there, and we want you to have great and trusted resources at the ready. In response to this, Idaho REI has developed an exclusive vendor directory chock full of businesses that are ready to help our community. Head on over to idahoreen.com, grab your free copy today, and don't forget, let them know that Idaho REI sent you.
It's really interesting. And you're not talking about, we're talking about just being celebrated and loved just as we are. And we know that comes from God as well, of
Absolutely.
course. And that's a huge component of your life, Julie. But it also doesn't mean we're just laying around like a sloth all day. And that's
Right.
what I used to have a hard time understanding. It'd be like just being present, being the thought of just being loved just as we are and just being in the moment. And I never really understood that because I was like, okay, how can I do that? But yet I've got this external drive that I just got to go, 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 go and
Mm.
perform. So if you're high capacity, how do you balance that just being versus achievement?
The achievement isn't bad. It's what am I getting from it? So I talk about this is I think it's fun. I talk about who our dopamine dealer is. We all
Okay.
have a dopamine dealer in our life.
Yeah.
Social media, going back to social
Yeah.
media is a huge dopamine dealer in the world today, right?
Right.
We go in there, and what I mean by that specifically is we go into social media, we see something, and instantly we get that dopamine release, and we're like, oh my gosh, that felt so good. And we want more of it and we consume it. And so, if we can take the time to identify what is a dopamine dealer here, okay, I feel like I need to be going. Okay. And when I go and when I chase after achievement, because you and I are birds of a feather in this regard, and I've had to recalibrate over the last few years in a massive way. When I would, I'll do this as a I, when I would chase after that and I would get awards and I would get noticed and recognized and invited to speak and all the fun stuff, it felt so good. It felt validating. It felt like I want more of this and I can't not have it. So basically, it's a dopamine dealer and that could have been good, except it revealed something more in me. And honestly, what I found is that I struggle with belonging. I struggle with abandonment, which is something that I discovered because I was willing to do the recalibration work. Like,
Mhm.
why do I sat with myself for a long time? This is not like oh, I did this meditation over the weekend and I got my Bible, I prayed to God and I found, no, this is years of being willing to sit with that and to ask myself the hard question of what am I really chasing after? I didn't stop myself and I didn't shame myself. So I think those are two really important things. I wasn't doing anything that was detrimental to the people around me. And I decided I'm like, I don't need to shame myself and make myself feel bad for these things, but I was very present and aware with myself. Like, what's the why behind the what? This is what I'm chasing. Why am I doing that? And continually going back to that question. And that's when I discovered, although came from a very stable middle class home, there wasn't anything terrible in my childhood and such. I still felt abandoned. And I also never felt like I belonged. And
Mhm.
from the outside, it would be like, dude, Julie, your life is perfect. Everybody wants you around. Of course, you belong. Things can look a certain way, but we can have these things inside of us that we have to understand. And so when we think about that go, go, go of a high performer, of that type A personality, of the achiever, we can just slow down and say, why? Is there something more here? And I also don't want to diminish performance and achievement at the same time.
Right.
God has created us all in different ways. And I think about the things that you and I have done and the opportunities that we have created for others and the connections that we have invited others into. So, understanding some of us are wired in this massive way that allows for this greater, like, I can go and I have a lot of energy to go and I have the ability to execute at a high level that's unique. Not everybody has that. So that's a beautiful thing. Am I stewarding that well? Am I using that well? And so it's just a deeper understanding within that recalibration. Understand, why am I doing this and what is it I'm actually chasing after?
I love that.
That was such a
So
long answer. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's great. And when you're talking from a standpoint, I'm thinking about the person that is in a very demanding career right now that
Right.
needs to maintain income for their family and their obligations and their lifestyle they've built up, all of that sort of thing. If they're toying with something more, it's not as easy as dropping that career at the drop of a hat. What does it look like and how can investing play into that?
Here's the interesting thing that I found about this, right? And my light is flickering. If you're listening and not seeing this, but I'm like, it's a little distracting to
No
me. I'm like,
ghosts on this podcast, I promise.
So, what's interesting is I was working with a couple and they're very successful investors and they're very young and they're just really neat people. I really like them a lot. And one of the elements that we discussed was, what is the urgency? Like, you want to have this accomplished in the next 5 years. At what cost? To what end? And so if we are carrying a load of, okay, I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we have, you know what? My spouse has cancer. This is a very common narrative. Someone has a chronic illness, they have a disease, they have something that is debilitating. I need to maintain stability for my family financially. I need to make sure our kids are taken care of or whatever age, because we know that once they leave the nest, they're still your kids. And so
Yep.
I'm navigating this and I need to invest. I feel this deeper desire that I need this for our future. Then
Right.
we just calibrate, what is my timeline here? What can I actually expect of myself?
Mm.
I'm not a single person in my 20s that can go house hack and live by myself, right? I am someone who is in a very different season of life with some different circumstances. And I need to be sensitive to that. And I need to not put pressure on myself. Most of that pressure is coming from the outside world. And to say, okay, I'm going to save this first year, or I'm going to collaborate with the right people. And then next year, I'm going to have my own. Maybe I'm buying a place every other year or every 3. You're going to figure out what that timeline is, but to put that pressure of, okay, I just discovered real estate investing. I'm going to offset everything. And in 5 years, we set ourselves up for what?
And then we
Are
burn
we,
out, like, we're like a star. We come out of the gate, or I've seen it so many times.
you and I have
They come
both
out of the
seen it
gate,
all the time.
you see them for maybe 30, maybe 60 days, and then they're gone. Yeah.
And they fade out. And so understanding that particularly real estate investing, but all successful investing is investing that is done in a slow, methodical way over time.
Yes.
And yes, we hear these stories about the people who have 10x in this first year. I did a
Yeah.
great, good for that person, but I can't compare myself to that person. So what are my metrics? And then do I want to push myself a little bit? Do I want to add like 10%? Like I want to give a little fire to myself and stretch. Okay, that's fine. But to compare ourselves to other people who are in other seasons of life, who have different backgrounds, who have different financial, whatever it is,
Mhm.
I think it's just foolish to put that pressure on ourselves. And so we can just calibrate and we can say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. And it's
I
safe for
love
me.
that, and that needs to be celebrated.
Oh my gosh.
I
We need
I
to celebrate the slow growth people.
Yeah, I remember many, many years ago, I was on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and I was so excited and proud of it and so forth, and really was a powerful thing at the time, but I came out, and Josh Dorkin, who was the founder of Bigger Pockets, he started out with his intro for me, and he said, "Jonna's story is boring." So thanks for hyping me up there, Josh. But it's true. It's the slow and steady that wins the race. And I'm all about celebrating that successful. First of all, there's people in careers that need to be celebrated, and don't
Yes.
just call a job just over broke. I mean, there's
Mhm.
powerful things. If there's a ER physician out there who's working hard, he's doing powerful work in his own way or her
Yes.
own way. And don't need to be like downplaying or talking bad about people that do have careers, first of all, because there's a
Mhm.
mentality
Yes.
in investing circles that you're looked down upon if you keep a W-2 job. Two, just the power of one strategically purchased rental property can add seven-figure net worth to somebody's retirement portfolio and change
Mhm.
their family's dynamics in so many ways. And that needs to be celebrated. So I'm all about celebrating all of those different levels, and more isn't necessarily better.
And just cheering you on that because I often ask, like, to what end?
Right.
And then understanding that not everyone is built to be self-employed or to be like I believe we were created to work. Work is actually good. There is nothing wrong with work. We weren't created and designed to just go sit around and sip beverages with umbrellas in them or whatever your version of that is. We were
Right.
designed to connect with other humans, to create, to collaborate, to contribute. And so, what are we doing with our lives? I think one of the failures, and this is separate, this is a personal tangent, but I'm going to throw this out there. I think one of the failures in the real estate community is basically promoting, like, I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And oftentimes it's all about me. It's about my legacy and it's about me doing something for my family. And I challenge, if that is what your driving motivation is, I want to offer you a friendly challenge, which I'm known for. And that friendly challenge is this: what are you doing beyond your family? Your family is a moral, ethical obligation. You love them. You will naturally go to the ends of the earth and probably give your life to protect or care for your family. What beyond your family, what does your life represent? I'm not minimizing family, but it is moral and ethical loving place where we can find ourselves and we can actually be holding back the best parts of how we're created and what we're supposed to contribute to the world because we're distracted by this singular focus. And so again, I
Wow.
don't want to diminish our family, but we weren't called here just to be present for our family. We weren't called to just we were initially our ancestors lived in villages. They took care of each other. Even if you go to other cultures, you have aunts and uncles that might aren't your blood, but they are in the village and they will call you out and they will love you and they will hold you accountable, right? So where are we showing up for the world in a greater way?
Oh, yes. I don't hear that message very often.
No.
It's a great reminder to all of us. So thank you so much for sharing that. Speaking of sharing, we're again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you're going to be coming and sharing with our community, people from all over the state that are coming for our conference October 10th, Idaho Recon. And I'm wondering if you can give the group just a little bit of insight of what you're going to be sharing that day.
I am so excited about this event because I love all of my friends down in South Idaho, and I love the heart of bringing all of Idaho together because
Yes.
Idahoans, we're awesome. And if you don't live here, but you invest here, you're awesome. People are just awesome. We'll leave it at that. But I'm excited. I am going to be sharing about identity level recalibration specifically for real estate investors. And so we're going to talk about how do we break burnout wrapped in gratitude? How do we transition from the scarcity into stewardship, right? How do we realign with a vision that reflects who I've become, not just what I've built? And we just keep in mind that when our identity shifts, our strategy becomes obvious and sustainable. And the sustainable part is the most important part. I think we discover that in our middle years of life because we're like, I don't know if I can keep that pace up. That hustle's really
Right.
wearing me out.
Amen. And I think we
It's
made it really clear from our earlier conversation that, like, as far as if you're wondering and you're just getting started to investing and you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this for me or is it for the person that has 20 doors? Newsflash, we're not going to be counting how many doors you have. And I promise that. And we welcome anyone that even has an inkling about there is a shift going on in my life and it's time to do some investing or at least learn what that looks like. Then we encourage you to get in those doors and create a community with us because you cannot, just like with anything, but even most very applicable in real estate investing, is it does take a village and it does take a
Mhm.
strong network and community to build something greater than yourself, right?
Oh, I love that. And I'll encourage you, if wherever you're at, having the perspective is so important. So, my husband and I were out on a walk this morning. We moved recently. And so we went out on a walk in a place that he had never been. I discovered it recently. And he was like, oh my gosh. And I just watched him expand before my eyes. And it was so much fun. And we started talking about perspective and how it's amazing if we put ourselves in proximity to something different, we expand, we grow. So even if you feel like you're a very successful investor, then you're going to come because you'll feel yourself expand, maybe because you're pouring into people that you
Mm.
didn't even know you had that in you. And if you've never invested, but you're like, this just seems like my tribe or I'm interested, come because you too, like everyone who comes is going to expand in a beautiful way.
Oh, I love that. Yay. And I didn't mention at the beginning of the podcast that you live in Idaho too. I shouldn't have just assumed that people know that. Tell us where you live, Julie.
Yes. Okay. We live in Sandpoint now. I'm so excited. We were commuting to church for a year and a half, and we're like, Lord, open up a way. So we got to move from Bonners Ferry. We lived up there for almost 9 years, and now we're in Sandpoint, and we're loving it.
Oh, I am so happy. And if y'all don't know that I graduated from Sandpoint High School and have family in Sandpoint, it's near and dear to my heart. And it's just another excuse to go up and visit because I get to see
Yes.
you, Julie.
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely love it.
What is the best way for people to get a hold of you and learn more about what you're doing today?
The best way at this moment is go connect with me on LinkedIn and
Okay.
shoot me a DM and say, I heard you on Jonna's podcast. Just so I know, there are lots of DMs, and we all know there are a lot of spam marketing message ones. So just let
Yeah.
me know you heard me here. I put out a lot of really cool content over on LinkedIn. So if you're looking, if any of what I said resonated, go connect up on LinkedIn and let me know who you are. I love connecting up with everybody.
Oh, that's so great. Yes, and connect with her, of course, when we come down for the conference on October 10th.
Yeah.
Word
Yes.
has it we're going to be doing a little pre-gathering the night of the night. So I'm hoping that you can make it
Oh,
and
yes.
rub some shoulders with some friends of ours down here. We got a great group and excited to be expanding up to North Idaho too.
So excited. I'm planning on bringing North Idaho. That's my goal.
Yes, yes. And we've got Craig coming from North Idaho too.
Whoop, whoop.
Craig Kirlop, who you'll be hearing on the podcast soon, and you guys are in for a treat. So good to have you here, Julie. Thank you for becoming a new friend this year. It's been a blessing, and I can't wait to see where identity level recalibration goes and how we continue to grow and morph and shift together.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Guys, have a great day. Thank you for being here. Go and grow.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining me here at the Idaho Real Estate Investors Show. I hope you're leaving with new insights and inspiration to help you truly grow wealth through real estate. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with those that can benefit from it. Go and grow, and I'll catch you on the next episode.